Well, I have the elevator. I've got a big mess here is what I have. I have the elevator stabilizer completely sanded. And I've installed the hinges on one side. And I thought I'd go through the hinge making process. First off, let me give you a close-up view of the notch that I sand into that right here. And I've made a tool. It looks normally like a regular hinge slotting tool, except there's a center in there. And what you need to do is you need to sand into this leading edge of this piece right here half the thickness. So if this is 3/8, this notch is 3/16 deep. So I just take the tool and I put it on the mark where I've marked them so they're both equal. Holding it perpendicular, I sand the notch into it. Until it bottoms out. Then we know we have the correct depth for the hinge, because this flap, or this elevator, does not rotate on the leading edge. It rotates behind the leading edge, so that it holds the gap of the piece closed, just like your leg works or your arm joint. So then the hinge pin looks like this. Let's see if we can get a little closer up. Looks like this. And you bend it. Well, first off, I insert a small eyelet into it. Right here, you'll see right there. It's a brass eyelet, and I peen over the other side so that it's in there. And then I take a piece of piano wire that fits in the bearing and bend an L in it like that. Then you center this wire up on the in the flap. Let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing here. It's very hard to be the cameraman and the builder, as I've stated before. You just take that and you force it down into that groove, centered. So it ends up looking like this. Make sure that it's straight, so that there's no binding in the hinge itself. The hardest part is what I'm going to show you next, which is filling this with wood. You have to fill it with wood to make it look correct. And these are finished before they're installed. And the install process is relatively easy. Just drill 2 holes. So now we have 2 hinges. These are called pocket hinges. Installed. So now we have to fill this gap with balsa wood so that we can shape the leading edge of the elevator over. And what I did was I took a piece of scrap. There we go. Piece of scrap wood, and I've trimmed it into 3/8 wide. And now I'm going to cut some pieces on the bandsaw. Like so. to fill these with. Now I've cut these too short. We want to cut them long and sand them shorter, so I'm going to cut 4 pieces, you know, slightly longer, and then I'll use the belt sander to hand fit those. So we have 4 little scraps of wood that we're going to hand fit into this slot. Now they're about a 1/4 inch too long, and I'm just going to do one on camera, and because this belt sander makes a lot of noise. So and I do apologize for the poor camera work. Okay, I've cut one of the pieces until it fit, until the slot or the groove looks about square. Want to make sure you force the wire down into the wood. We want a good wood-to-wood bond so that that hinge stays in there. And I know that it seems like a lot of work for hinges. And it is. But the hinges are so free. I'm going to have to hit that again with this belt sander. The hinges are so free that I'm not ever going to do another one any different. Okay. Now the next thing I'd like to get across to you is about the glue. CA is so hard. In order to make that round and nice, you can't get any glue on the edge. So I only use a drop of glue to hold it on there until I get it shaped. That glued my beard. Come on now. Make sure it's free. It's real easy to glue the hinge solid. So this one's not free. There it is. That glue will wick down into the bearing and then you're sunk. That's good. Okay, let's do another one, and then I'll cut the camera and finish the other one off camera, and I'll show you how to set the hinges, which is not a big deal. Like I say, these are super, super nice, and this is light. It's going to end up being around 2.5 ounces complete. Got a hard spot there. Well, that'll be taken care of when I dope this. And so we're gonna get this finished today. I kind of laxed off, as I told you. My roof leaked, and I had to be with the roofer, and which is a royal pain. Cut a 1/4 inch off of that. Eighth of an inch more. So now you have 2 blocks on there, and that certainly wouldn't work. So you have to take a X-Acto knife and carve them to the shape of the leading edge. Let me move this camera up a little bit. It seems to be pointed down too much. Get my compressor out of the way. There we go. That should help. So I take the X-Acto knife, and we're going to carve this off. Everybody has asked me about these hinges. They are so superior to flat hinges, I can't tell you. Yeah, you could use the Robart hinges, but they're not going to be as free as this. Well, I just knocked off 90% of it. And then I got 80 grit sandpaper here, and we're going to sand it down. This is the hardest part of the whole hinging process, is blending these blocks in, so they look. Just take your time. I'll show you a trick that I've come up with, which is not really a trick, it's just a sandpaper on a steel rule. So here I have a machinist scale, 80 grit on one side, 180 on the other. And we're just blending it in. The sanding is for you, Shug. You wanted to see me sand. There, that's close. I'm going to try to do a cowl as nice as Ted Fancher does on this airplane. Ted Fancher is by far the best cowl carver I have ever seen. He built some nice airplanes too, but the cowls are outstanding. Okay, we have it roughed in to shape. I turn it over and use the 180 and finish it off. Now remember, I just put enough glue on there to hold it. I didn't really finish gluing it, so we got to come back and finish gluing them, or they have a chance to pull out, and you don't want that to happen, because all that's holding this hinge on is this block. So we'll flood it with CA and then go over it with 320. And that's what we're going to do here. So keeping the object pointed down from the pivot pin, we'll add some CA around the crack. Make sure you keep it free working. And of course I clean the notch up with a knife. Cut that one out. It seems like I got some glue in it. No, it's freeing up. Anyway, that is the hinge install. I put CA all over the top of that. This is 320, blending in the CA. Making that edge nice. And when you tissue this, the dope and tissue lock that all in too. So, that is how the hinges are put in. And I'll finish the other one off camera, and I'll show you how I install them. So we'll be back in a minute. Welcome everybody to day 2 of my mystery build. Well, I've completed the elevator stabilizer. I'm going to hinge it today. But all the parts together for the elevator and stabilizer weigh 2.3 ounces. It might be a little less when I bend and cut this horn. It's rather long. So we'll say 2.1 ounces. And that includes the hinges. So I'm figuring that it should approximately weigh 2.5 ounces with the silk span and the dope on it. Very, very light. 1/2 inch stabilizer, 3/8 elevators. I've sanded it with 400. They're all shaped, ready to go. Very nice. So today what we're going to work on, like I say, we'll probably go ahead and hinge this. I have to make up some hinges. And I'm going to use my 7-ply hinges on this one. These are the 3-ply hinges that I have. We'll get a close-up of this and see if we can't. Because people have been asking about the hinges. What's up with the hinges? That's what the hinge looks like. A little brass eyelet goes in there, and then the wire goes through that, and these get embedded into the elevators and flaps. These are the 3-ply. I've got 7-ply downstairs. The neat thing about doing it this way is everything stays in line. And if you notice here, there's a chamfer. I took or a groove. I took a 3/8 dowel and sanded the groove. If you remember, I took the 1/4 inch router and I routed the 3/8 fill piece, the center piece. So we had a 1/4 inch in there. Then after I got the sheeting on the top and the bottom, I took the 3/8 and finished it off and smoothed it out. So that fits inside like that, and they rotate right on the leading edge so that there is 0 gap. That means no hinge tape. Hinge tape is terrible. I will never use hinge tape. It just binds the controls up, and I don't care what anybody says. They're not as free as no hinge tape. We'll be doing that to the wing as well. Yesterday I had made the rib templates and got out the wing jig. These are the 2 plywood templates that I made up yesterday. This should be a real nice airplane. Now, the Monado XL flies very nice. It really does. And I'm happy with it. But I would like it more aesthetically pleasing. And there is something that I would like to change. I would like to get a little more power in the rear end. So I'm going to be lengthening the tail moment up probably a 1/2 inch. And I'm probably going to shorten the nose a 1/2 inch. So basically we're moving the wing forward 1 inch. And the numbers will be pretty close to the same except the wing. The wing is going to have more wing area than the other one. For the simple fact, more wing area, lighter wing loading. Now the other airplane is 59 ounces at 700 squares. That's a geobolt wing in there. And you know, it's alright, but I'm searching for a little more performance, a little snappier, lighter feel on the handle, like my Continental flies. And I do love the Super Tiger 60. So that's, I have an extra one. I have two extra ones. This one here. And then I picked up another one. That needs to be gone through. I don't know that I've shown this or not, but I have two Super Tiger 60s. This one's ready to go with the correct venturi and everything, and this one still needs to be taken apart and cleaned, and I got to get this muffler off, get some back plate bolts, and so but that's for another airplane, another time. So back, what we're going to do today is we're going to work on this, and I'll keep you apprised as the progression goes. I would like to give you, you know, basically all the details on how to do this. I'm glad that my videos are helping some of you. It's kind of a mess here. I'm going to have to clean some of this up today because I just can't move. So anyway, we'll be back in a short with the next project. Probably do the rudder or something. You know, I just don't know, because, you know, this is a do what you feel. So we'll be back in a bit. Okay, I have now finished both sides of this, and we're going to mount it. And how to do that is relatively simple. First thing I'm going to do is mark it. Take the stabilizer elevator, and because this has a little tip, you know, a round corner on the end, I have to do it a little different. Need to get this up here. Put it up here, and then I make a mark on each side of the 1/8" hinge. Which is not, and this is so rudimentary, it's ridiculous. I'm hoping that not boring. Okay, so we now have a mark, and then I have a hand drill somewhere here on this bench. Yeah, an 1/8" hand drill. This comes from Jim Lee's machine. And I'm just going to take this hand drill and drill 2 1/8" holes right in the center of this groove. One. I don't have the elevator horn bent yet, but it gets mounted the same exact way. It's on two of my hinges with brass bushings in it. And that way they're all held in perfect line. I think that's another reason why this hinging system works so freely. Everything is perfectly lined up. Let me take this one here. We're going to force that in the hole because we're turning a round hole into a square hole. Matter of fact, I'll give you an illustration or give you a close-up what the hinge looks like in its pocket. So, once that hinge is put in to the flap, let's see if we can get it to focus here. It looks like that. It just slides right into the holes. And as I stated, because these are all laser cut, they're all the same size, all the hinge pins are in perfect alignment. And you just slide it on like that. And that's basically it. And it makes a seamless, absolutely seamless gap between elevator and stabilizer. And they, like I said, it doesn't rotate on the leading edge. It rotates 3/16 of an inch back. This was tried to be explained to me in the 90s. And I just, my mind couldn't grasp it. And then sitting on the couch dreaming this up, after looking at the Etzinkos and some of the other things, you know, figuring out this is not that difficult. So, that is my hinging system. And trust me, there is nothing more free. This one here is a little tight. I think it's a rubber. Maybe I'll clean it up a little bit. But absolutely 100% free. So, that's that. I don't think I'm going to, well, I might do the flat form today, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to insert basswood into these elevators as I normally do. I'm just going to drill a larger hole, 1/8" hole, and install a piece of aluminum wire, or aluminum tubing, 3/32. So, we'll see. We'll be back in a bit. Well, 2 days. I have the elevator stabilizer complete. I could have done it faster, but as I've stated, I had some other issues going on. And it weighs 2 1/4 ounces. That's not bad for a 30-inch stabilizer. And that includes the horn and the hinges. So 2 1/4 ounces. You guys out there with the 5-ounce elevator stabilizers, way too much. Just way too much. I would rather this, I wish it was a 1/4 ounce lighter. And the reason that is you say, well, what difference does it make? You're going to add paint on that. And the lighter you can make the airframe, the better the finish you can put on. Because paint is heavy. I don't care what anybody says. Paint is heavy. I'm getting better at putting the finish on as far as these big airplanes go. I think my Monado finish was just under 7 ounces, which is, for as nice as it turned out, really good. Really good. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to clean this mess up, and we're going to lay out the fuselage. Take some measurements off the other airplane, lay out the fuselage. I did buy some other wood there yesterday. I might have enough to do the wing. But we're looking, as I told you before, as a flat rate mechanic, you just have a project that you want to accomplish, you know, each day or whatever. I built the elevator stabilizer. Could have done it in 1 day, but it took 2. We'll do the fuselage. It'll probably take 2, and the wing will take 2, and so that's 6 days. And put them together, it'll probably take 10 days total to get it sitting on its wheels. Not bad. I mean, it's not great, not my fastest. As some of you know, I built complete airplanes in 11 days. But it's respectable. So now I'm going to lay out the rudder and see if I can't sand that to shape, and then I'll lay out the fuselage. So let me do a little bit of cleaning here. Take about half an hour to get the bench cleaned off where I got some space to work, and we'll go from there. So we'll see you in about a half an hour. Okay. I don't know, I just can't get enthused about this project. It should be a lot farther along, but in 3 days I have 2 parts built. I have the elevator sanded, hinged, elevator and stabilizer hinged and built. Now I'm working on the rudder. The elevator weighed 2 1/4 ounces. That's complete. I will probably start finishing next. Get these pieces all in dope and tissue. That way I don't have any wait time for doing these things. I glued 3/8 together and made this rudder. And I sanded it first with 30 grit, then with 80 grit. Now I'm finishing it off with 320, getting all the scratches out of it, get it shaped nicely. I'm always striving for the perfect finish. It just never seems that I can build an airplane as good as some of the guys out there. Billy, Bob, Ted, a lot of good builders. Joe Adamusco is a super builder. Jim Lynch, another good finisher. I always, yeah, my airplanes look good, but they always have something I don't like. There's a dent here, or I didn't sand a good shape in one spot or another, and I never find out about it until after the airplane's done. So seeing that this is next year's airplane, I'm getting a year jump on it. I should be able to bring it closer to what I want as far as finish goes. Now I've sanded the airfoil in this, but it's got a slight airfoil on the other side. It's rounded on the other side too. It's not completely flat. And the reason I'm doing that is because I was told by a guy who built airplanes in the 50s and 60s that it looks better if both sides are semi-symmetrical, even though it's airfoiled. So that's what we're doing here. Putting a round edge on the outboard side as well. I've been kind of a miss. I will post these videos. In Control Line Craftsman, I was posting every day. But it's so difficult. Now that my computer is broken, I only have the laptop. I'm only going to do them once a week. So today's Wednesday. I'll post this on Friday. So every Friday you can look for one. And we'll try to make it, you know, an hour or so long, depending on how much material I have in them. Maybe we'll do some commentary like I did with the news, mixed in with some flying videos that I shot. Mixed in with this. So I'll try to bring you some good footage, but I just don't want you to be bored. Because the reason why I do the videos like I do them is because I watched all of Wendy's videos, and there is some good information in there. If you can sift through the birds and the parties, the trains, and the rebuilding of the house, and I'm not knocking Wendy. I just want to do a different type of video. I noticed that Mike Griffin is starting his videos, and that might be good for some of the less advanced builders, and that's fine. But what I try to do is bring you artwork and how I achieve that artwork. And I'm only showing this sanding because a few guys have asked to see sanding. Otherwise, it's boring. Okay, what I have here is the rudder airfoil. Let's see if we can get a close-up of that. And we'll get a weight on it. So now my airplane, elevator, stabilizer, and rudder. This is 4/10 of an ounce, so a little less than half an ounce. It'd be nice to get it down to a quarter, but that ain't gonna happen. I need to knock off this. Large edge there. It was oh, I thought it was 400 I was sanding with. 220, and that'll be fine. To get it roughed in here. Remember, sand it with 30, then 80. Now this is 220. We'll go down to 320. I don't want any scratches in before I start doping. This is an exact copy of the rudder on the other airplane. This stabilizer is 2 inches bigger, longer than the other airplane. So, this is my airplane so far. Let's see how much it weighs together. Okay, we have 77 grams between the two, and that is 2 3/4 ounces for the elevator stabilizer with the horn hinges and the rudder. So 2 3/4 ounces for you guys that are weight conscious. It's a 30-inch span. It's 3 3/4 at the root on the stab. It's 3 1/2 on the elevators, and 30 inches long. So it's quite a bit of area, and it's light. So I just keep, you know, making a part and putting it in the pile, and in a few days here we'll have enough parts to put together. I am not sure that I'm going to be able to do much on the wing until I get some more good contest wood. I weighed this wood and these were 6 pound. That's a 4 pound. That's 6 pound. That's 6 pound. That's 6 pound. And this is 6 pound. So I have one 4 pound, and the rest are 6 pound pieces of wood for ribs. I have to look and see what I have on the shelf there. I'm going to use 77,000 sheeting on it, so I don't get those scallops that I hate so bad on the leading edge. I'm also going to use some half ribs on there so I don't get that. I dug around in my stuff. I have another 6th scale pilot we're going to doctor up. I'm not sure that I'll put a headset on them again, but I'm not, you know, I don't know. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to put a turtle deck on this and make it similar to a Viper. This would, you know, this would be a rather large Viper with a Super Tiger 60 in it. And we can do that, but the Monado XL flies real good. I mean, anybody that's seen it turn, it really turns, and I think it has to do with the weight. It's only 59 ounces, so we got to stay in that 56 to 59 ounce range, and I'm really going to try to make it lighter than the last one. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to sand more. But got the canopy like I showed you. Got everything. I'm just about good to go. Got wire, got push rod. And this is all stuff. There's a few pieces I bought at Brodex, the canopy and the wheels. But this is all stuff that I've had laying around the shop. So don't throw anything away. Categorize everything. Maybe you can build another airplane. So I'm going to cut the camera. We'll be back when I got something else to report. Maybe show you. Okay, we're still on day 3. I've got these all sanded up nicely. I'm going to go ahead and put a few coats of dope on them, get them covered up. That way I can have longer dry times between coats of dope. If I start doping now, if I wait till the end to dope the thing, then I have to, this is part of the time management, I'm going to have to wait for dry. And so if I dope these now and get them tissued, they can be sitting for the couple weeks that it's going to take to build this airplane. And when I put it together, they'll be ready to go. So it's just something to think about, you know, how to manage your time. You want to be able to build these airplanes with the maximum amount of efficiency. So I'll set that here. And we'll start doing this, the elevator stabilizer. I need to mark them so I can tell which one goes where. Something's going on downstairs. Let me run down there and look. I'll try to cut this out. Morning, everybody. This is day 4. And what we've got accomplished so far is the rudder has been built, sanded to shape, doped with 2 coats. We have the elevator stabilizer done, doped with 2 coats. And now today, we are going to proceed to our fuselage. Let me put these out of the way. We're going to have to clean up the mess a little bit. Bear with me. I'm kind of doing a survey of what materials I have, because I just don't have the materials like I used to have when the economy was good. Of course, they say it's good, but I don't know where it's good at. It's certainly not good here. So anyway, we're going to clean this up. We'll get to my straightforward layout process. I'll show you my thought process on that and how it transpires and how quickly you can get an airplane together. And it's not because I'm working a million hours. Those 2 parts there that I showed you, the elevator stabilizer and rudder, I might have whatever the tape time is plus an hour. I might have 4 hours in it, 5 hours tops. So now, clean this off. Let's see, where's my brush? There it is. All these little bits of sandpaper and notes and things, ridiculous. So we can add 3.5 ounces, or was it 2.5? 2. Better weigh this again. Let me cut the camera. All of 2 seconds to find a pen. Let's weigh these parts again so we can add them to our list. Dropped it. $66. Oh, I didn't ding it. 66. 81 grams for both of those. Stab and rudder, 81 grams. Then we have a pilot and canopy. Now these are going to be slightly less because I'm leaving the plastic on it, but I'll go ahead and weigh it as is. That's 30 grams for the canopy. And the pilot is 23 grams. Grams. 531. That's 2. That's 5. 5, 10, 13, 16. Our airplane weighs 665 grams so far. And of course, some of that'll go away, maybe 15 grams in the plastic coverings and so on and so forth. Of course, we have to weigh the wing yet, but this is my basic process of doing things. I weigh every piece, and especially when I'm hollowing blocks. I weigh the block when I start. I hollow it out, and then I weigh it as I'm hollowing it. And I just, all I try to do is cut it by 1 gram each time I weigh it. Can we sand 1 gram out of it? And you do that enough times, you do that 28 times, that's a full ounce. So that's how I do it. But as you can see, I'm not working very hard at this. I'm not in a big rush to get the project done. Because this is next year's airplane. But I am excited about doing it. I want to see what it's going to look like. I got a vision in my head what I want it to look like. Long, low, swooping, very curvy. Now, in order to get a curvy body, you basically have to have thick fuselage sides or mold the fuselage. So we will have some other options that we're going to try. We're going to try some stringers in this and sand into the stringers this time, where I normally don't do that. But I want it to be very round, just like the Continental is. So I have some 48-inch long 3/32. That's what we're going to use for fuselage sides. If I can get it out of here without knocking everything on the floor. It's really odd. I have a lot of big block wood, but I don't have much 16th and 3/32 wood. So let's separate these. These will make nice wingtips. This is a broken piece of 3/8. Oh man, that was a nice light piece too, 51 grams. But we have three pieces that are relatively nice here for the flaps. Well, I only need 2, so we might get some real light out of that. So here we have my 48-inch long 3/32. These are the last of these. I don't have any more. They're under an ounce a piece. I probably should, let me use the balsa density calculator and see what weight they are. I'll be right back. Well, I just did the balsa calculation on it to see what the weight density was. And it's not 4 to 6 pounds. It falls at 7 pounds. And, you know, I like to try to keep everything 4 to 6 pounds. But I don't have any other 48-inch long pieces. So we'll go ahead and use these, and it should be okay. Now it's got some hard spots in it. We're not going to use the whole length of it anyway. It's a hard spot there. I'm going to need to take some measurements of the other airplane. So, give me a minute, I'll get that out. We'll take some measurements on that because there's a few things I want to change on it, so I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I've got it down off the wall, and we're going to take the measurements on the nose and the tail. And write them down and see if we can't duplicate them. 11. And the tail. I just needed to get the nose and tail moments on this, and then everything else is by eye. I don't know why it's got a long tail moment, but it sure looks short. It's got an 18-inch tail moment, so we want to keep that the same. Tail 18, because this baby turns good, real good. Okay, time to set her back up there on the shelf. I hate handling airplanes in the shop, because this is where they get ruined, in the shop. Have it all cleaned up from Brodax. Yep, set it back up. I'll clean it out at the field. If I gotta clean it anymore, there's no room in here. I do see one way to save some weight on this next one. Those were solid tips that I had on that airplane on the first one. And we're going to do the Continental style built up tip on the second one. So this is the only piece of 1/2 inch I could find. We need to get the motor mount set and ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I need to square this thing up. Hopefully there's enough material here to do a motor mount. Because I've notched it and it's just a piece of scrap. And that's okay. Remember, we're on day 4. So there we have that. Let's make sure this is square here on this end. I'll tell you one thing, I do like building airplanes on my own and not having anybody tell me, well, you ought to do this, you ought to do that, because every time I do this or that, they don't end up flying like I want. And I have built a few of them. So let's square this up real good, because this is the motor crutch right here. We'll get that starting to dry, and then go to lay out the fuselage. That looks good. Okay. got too much stuff in here. Too much stuff and I can't see what I'm doing. So we've got it set, maybe my other eyes would help. One, two, three less. Four. One. Too much slop. I don't know about you guys, but I like everything hand fit and to fit snugly. This has about a 1/16 of an inch of slop, so I could turn it quite a bit. I think a 32nd would be plenty. We want enough that we can do motor offset. Yeah, that's plenty. While keeping the so we need an 1/8 of an inch behind the motor because we gotta put an 1/8 inch piece of plywood there. A little bit more. Let's see. Disappeared. There it is. We'll make it 5. Alright, now need to square up this end. Now, when cutting cross grain, I'm going to be joining 2 pieces of 1/2 inch together for this crutch because the piece that I have is not quite long enough. So if I cut across it with a knife, it would leave it all jagged, so I just come over on the belt sander and sand to the line. into this. And we have 3/4 of an inch that I have to sand off the end. So instead of sanding it, I'll just put it on the bandsaw. Sand it, or cut it within 1/8 of an inch and sand it to the line. Now we know that's square. Well, it should have been square, but it's not. Why? My table on my belt segment must be off. So. Well, I gotta cut the camera. I have to repair my disc sander, so I'll be back in a bit.